Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. I have a very strange video for you guys today. And first of all, I just have to say, oh, this is so uncomfortable. Alright, I don't have a lot of time to get this done, so I'm just gonna launch into this. Something must be wrong with you. What could be wrong with you that you wouldn't want to sleep with me, let alone in the same room with me? Any woman would want to do that. Is it what is it? Is it your culture? Is it your religion? Was it the way you were raised? I mean, did somebody do something to you and now you're like broken? I've never met another woman that would be uncomfortable with this. This is you, and something is wrong with you, and you're making me the bad guy, and that's unfair to me. And if you sleep on the couch, all these guys are going to think that I tried to hurt you. Well, yeah, they might think that I tried to rape you or something, so you should sleep in here because that's the least that you can do for me. I mean, out of all the things I've done for you, the least that you can do is keep me company and sleep with me in here all night. So these are some of the things that someone said to me Saturday before last when I was very, very afraid to leave a room. I'm making this video because I have been hurt in the past, a long time ago, and I was so afraid of victimizing somebody else and being the bitch and not being kind that I put myself in the position of being the victim again, which is kind of interesting if you think about it. Someone who's been victimized in the past has this need not to hurt other people to the degree that they hurt themselves or they put themselves ironically back in that position rather than somehow putting somebody else in that position. So this is clearly some stuff that I have to get over, but I was so afraid of being the bitch. I was so afraid of not being kind. I was so afraid of being that person that makes somebody else feel victimized, like I'm treating them like they have malicious intentions. And the entire time my gut was saying, this person has malicious intentions. There's something wrong with this person. And I ignored my gut because I didn't want to be that girl. I didn't want to be that person. And I think that it's a part of our culture as Americans, but then also another culture, something that's kind of a part of being online a lot, maybe. I don't know. Maybe it's a generational thing. But there's so many guys, and I am friends with a lot of guys. I have a lot of guys around me. That's not to say that I'm a whore. I just have a lot of male friends. I've always been surrounded by guys, more so women, but just a lot of men in my family. And they're always complaining about, someone treating you like you're a bad guy, and you're not a bad guy just because you tried to come on to someone and blah, 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 blah. I thought, wow, I don't want to be the person in that narrative that demeans this guy just because maybe he's lonely. So I made it clear that I wasn't interested in him in any way. I didn't mind necessarily his friendship, but basically I'd be okay either way. I didn't say it like that, but that's basically what I said for 2 weeks. So long story short, since losing my mom and my job and some other family members that I'm not going to mention or else I'm going to cry, in late 2019, I have become the queen of the hustle, meaning it's been very hard to get a official job other than exactly the same as what I just did. And I'm not going back to being caregiver for sure. Especially now with COVID, really not a safe idea, especially with my health issues in my life. So it doesn't make sense for me to put myself in that position because I wouldn't even be a very big help for someone who was older and so on and so on. So I've been selling things online, my collectibles, and in the beginning when things were especially terrible in my house, was also selling some of my mom's collectibles. She'd already told me she wouldn't mind if I sold. Nothing that was precious to her. But so during all that time, I started getting into brokering for friends and family and neighbors and selling furniture. I even helped some people sell their house. I helped some other people find houses to buy. And when I did that stuff, I never got paid. I was just being like a concerned citizen that saw that someone was selling off really precious parts of their home, and it seemed like maybe they were in trouble and needed a buyer last minute. So I helped facilitate connections, and I started thinking, well, maybe I should figure out a way to make money out of doing that. And lo and behold, at that time, I was selling a box of Magic cards, Magic the Gathering cards. And there was this one buyer who was really interested. It really seemed like he was about to buy, then suddenly he didn't buy, and meaning it was clear that suddenly he was waffling. He was doing something that I call waiting on the table, which is he's getting back to you in drips and drabs. He's still answering you, which means he's not buying it from somebody else, but he's probably talking with somebody else who might want to buy it, is typically what's going on. So that person finally very politely turned me down, and then weirdly somebody else popped up and they wanted to buy it, and I basically said, listen, you can buy it, but I'm switching the price back to full price because I momentarily lost some confidence. I went down the price. I went, look, I'm actually in the middle of changing the price back up, so you have to agree to that. And the person agreed, which is weird. Okay, well, this is how much the shipping is going to be. And they agreed. So this brought it above the original full price, and they agreed. And to me, that was a giant red flag, but whatever. You want to pay above full price, that's weird. But as far as I know, there's nothing else that you think you're going to get out of it. You've never seen a picture of me, so it can't be that. And I know that sounds really full of myself, but honestly, it happens a lot when I'm online. People, guys mostly see me online, and then they decide that they're somehow going to get in my pants by buying something from me or talking with me online, which it makes me so uncomfortable. It actually makes my nose itch. But so I thought, what could he get out of this other than cards as far as he's aware? There's nothing else. And we haven't had long conversations or anything, so it's not like it's a charisma thing either. What is it? That's what I should have been thinking. What is it? Also, now it's very clear. So the first guy who was definitely going to buy it, then he waffled on the table, and then suddenly he turned it down, referred the other person to me who had suddenly popped up and bought that box. And that one conversation turned into around 5 days of conversation because they're waiting for their package and it was late in the mail. I'm very attentive as a seller, and I make sure you have pictures of what it looks like fully packed. You have pictures of what it looks like when there's, when it's actually strapped in, if you will. And you have a picture of it actually at the post office, which helps me and it helps you. It helps protect me, and it helps you feel, excited and gets you more amped up. And frankly, when it actually comes to your doorstep and you open it, it's going to seem 100 times cooler than it actually is because there's all this anticipation that's been built up. It's almost like the opposite of just receiving the gift. It's almost like you've been opening the gift all this time, and then once it actually arrives at your door and you actually open it, it's like, oh my God, it's so awesome. It's not that awesome. It's the same thing that it was 6 days ago, but to you, it's like, oh my God, mind blown. And it makes people that much happier as well. So all good, especially for you if you happen to be getting into selling stuff. That's something you can use. So anyways, this person honestly seemed weird from the very beginning. But there was only so much that I could do on that platform in order to tell them about their package. So eventually I suggested, well, do you have WhatsApp? We'll just use that. It was easier for me, less time consuming for me. And as far as I was concerned, the relationship of buyer and seller was done, but he kept texting me. And this is when the need to not be the bad guy really came in, because he was texting me daily and I felt like, well, this person could always turn into another sale. I should be polite and I should text something back. All the things he's saying are so nice, they're actually too nice, which makes me feel weird, but I should be nice. So it's like a week and a day later, and this person comes out with that they used to be a marketer and they used to be into all these different things. And so I say, oh, well, I'm into some of those things too. It seems like we have some similar interests. We should, maybe put on presentations for each other. I'll listen to your bit, you listen to my bit. Maybe we can help each other out. I was talking about over Zoom this way. She wanted to meet in person. And I thought, well, I'm going to choose the time and the place. And if you show up, great. And if you don't worry about it. I'm going home. But basically, the I need to be a nice person because someone was terrible to me one time a long time ago syndrome continued to kick in. And I just kept trying to be nice. Including the fact that the time that we met up the very first time took a really long time. But he was a talker, and it turned out that basically he wanted someone to run his different small businesses from home. And then he came out with the fact that actually he wanted somebody else in his home, which at first was really weird, but okay. I don't understand what that has to do with me. So then he says, well, he offers me a place to live. And initially, my thought was, this is moving way too fast. I haven't even known this person for 2 weeks. But maybe one of the reasons why my life hasn't changed and progressed to the point that I want it to is maybe I'm being closed-minded. And so I got back into that, I need to be nice, I need to be nice, I need to be nice. So I said, okay, I'll go take a look. So I went and took a look. And in order to do that, that meant a lot of preparation on my behalf. And this is something I have to tell you as well. If you have to put lots of security in place to do something that should be really simple because it's happening too soon, or you don't have enough control in it and there's too much of a chance of you being a victim, then really what you have is something you shouldn't do. And it's not unkind to say no. It's not unkind to say no or not yet. It is actually more unkind to say yes and then say no, which then became my position as soon as I got there. Because as soon as I got there, I thought, just no, this is a terrible situation. I do not want to live here. This is not right for me. I feel really creepy and I don't want to be here. But I've already said yes this far. How do I say no? That is really my biggest problem. So another week goes by, still texting, and I say, I like you as a friend. I like you as a friend. Hey, I'm just telling people about how I was held hostage in a room weekend before last. And I thought that by saying, I like you as a friend, that would say, I like you as a friend. Apparently, that's not what that said. Apparently, maybe in his head, I like you as a friend meant I want to sleep with you, or you want to sleep in my bedroom. I really don't know. But he started talking incessantly while I was there the first time looking at the house. You could sleep in here. And I say, you mean if I got the room in this apartment, this would be my room in the apartment? And he says, yeah, well, or before then. And there's this giant flag going off in my head, but I'm thinking, I must have misunderstood that, because what that sounds like is something that's creepy, and calling somebody creepy is unkind, and I need to be kind, so I need to figure out a way where it doesn't sound creepy. So in my head, I went, okay, what else could it possibly mean? It can't mean like this person that I barely know is offering for me to sleep in his bed with him in his bedroom, because that's weird. It has to mean something else. And I couldn't think of anything, and I'm literally just standing there staring at this dirty blow-up bed. It's this light pink color, and it's also brown and gray because the floors in this apartment are actually truly filthy. They have cockroaches everywhere, and I guess he's walking around barefoot and then getting it into the bed or something. So the bed is disgusting. And there's this old futon that it's kind of pulled up into a bed shape, and then I guess you can push it down and it becomes like a flat bed, which also seemed creepy. And I'm looking at it, I'm thinking that can't be it. And that's when he says, or you could come here to spend the night and you can sleep in the bed with me. And I go, no. Before I can even think about it, no, absolutely not. I wouldn't do that. But thank you all the same. I wasn't raised that way. And frankly, I wouldn't be comfortable with it. We barely know each other. I'm not going to sleep in the same bed as you. I don't share beds with anybody. And I thought, oh shit, I'm not going to be able to get home, am I? Because this is the person who's supposed to be driving me home. I have to figure out a way to be nicer and yet honest and firm. He goes, okay, well, I'll let you think about it. I'm like, no, I don't need to think about it. I'm never going to agree to that. The closest I'd ever agree to if I ever decide to come here to spend the night or hang out would be if I like fall asleep on the couch out in the living room, maybe. And even then, I don't see myself spending that much time unless I actually moved in here. So I drilled in with all these questions about what do they do, how do they keep a balance, a check and balance. It is. And he says, well, there's no checks and balances. It's kind of free reign. He doesn't take first and last month's deposit, and he doesn't take a security deposit. And that's how he helps his friends. And I said, oh, that sounds nice of you. And so I feel guilty because I'm feeling like this is a creepy place, and then I don't like this person, and that makes me feel like a bad person. I'm being mean, so I have to figure out a way to be nice. I was so afraid of being the bitch. I was so afraid of being that person that makes the guy feel like he's a bad person that I agreed to go back. And so I went back a week later. I'd already decided, no, I'm not doing this. And I told him, I don't think that I could live there. I will consider possibly maybe staying over the night one day in the living room, but only if it's much cleaner and some things have been put in place and people who I know are there, because people rent out the bedrooms in this apartment. So it has to be people that I know are there. People who I've met are already there, not people that I don't know. It has to be much cleaner. The bugs have to be gone. Like it's impossible to make all that happen in 5 days or 6 days. So I'm thinking that's not going to happen. So, like I said, I had sold him magic cards. He plays magic, and we needed a fourth person for a magic game that I was playing together. So I invited him to sit in and play against us at a sort of nearby park. And I had invited my other two friends, so it was going to be 4 of us. And one of those friends dropped out, so it ended up being just the 3 of us. At the end of the game, I thought, I think maybe I was being too hard on this person, and I should give him another chance. And, I don't really want to spend the rest of today alone anyway. Yeah, why not? Go over to the house and play a game. Because he said, why don't you come over to my house and play a game? Oh, okay, well, who's going to be there? How long is it going to be? Do you absolutely promise to take me back home? And he says, well, yeah, but you might not want to go home. And I say, I'm probably going to want to go home. I'm telling you right now, I will want to go home. He says, would you please consider staying over? I mean, you've already said how you would if certain things were in place. If certain things are in place, would you please consider staying over? Seems like you greatly sacrifice your own needs for the sake of maintaining social harmony. Yeah, I have to stop doing that. So I agreed to go to the apartment to play the game with his friends. I was excited about playing the game, and I felt a little uncomfortable. And then also, so the family member I live with was going to be out for most of the night. So I brought my dog with me. She's small, very small dog. And I thought, this is another thing that's going to help keep him in check, because no one would try anything while there's a dog. Wrong. Apparently, they totally would try things if there's a dog. So I bring my little dog, and I think she's also going to help me be stronger and say no. And what I didn't realize is that once you agree to go with someone somewhere, and they're the one driving you, and you don't want to make them seem like a bad person because you don't want to be a bad person. So you don't tell all of your friends the second time. The first time I told all my friends where I was going, what I was doing, and approximately how long I'd be there, and I sent directions. The second time I thought, well, I don't plan to stay. So as I'm getting things ready at my house, he's like, is there anything that you need before we go to play the game at my house? And I say, I need to pick up a few things at my house. So he brings me to my house. I pick up a few things for my dog so I can make sure she doesn't miss dinner. Obviously, I have my dog. like a towel for her for the floor if they don't know if it's going to be clean there or not. And I think, okay, this is really all I need. And before I leave, he says, don't you want to bring a pillow and a blanket? And I say, no, because I don't intend to be staying there. And he says, would you please at least consider and meet me halfway? I'm like, and you understand that I would be sleeping on the couch and or you would be sleeping on the couch because I'm not sleeping in the same bedroom with you. He says, yeah, I heard you. Can you just bring something? I'm like, well, that's kind of rude. And he says, I'm sorry. Would you at least consider it? So I say, okay, here's my halfway. I have a small pillow. If it looks like, lo and behold, somehow you've cleaned the entire place, there's only people that I know there, and somehow I decide that I actually want to stay and sleep in the living room, I have a pillow. But I, again, highly doubt this is going to happen. I'm actually saying these things out loud. I don't think he heard any of it. I don't think he wanted to hear any of it. And I think that part of the reason why I kept repeating, I only like you as a friend, I most probably do not want to stay at your house. If I do, I'd want to sleep in the living room. I do not share a bedroom with you. I do not want to share a bed with you. I'm not comfortable with that. That's really weird. I think I kept saying that really for my own feeling because, like when you're talking with someone and they've heard you, you don't repeat it over and over again. So I really just should have said no. And it would have made me the bad guy, and it would have been better to be the bad guy. I should have said no. We go to the apartment. We play a couple games. They last forever. It's really annoying. I don't know how to play this particular version of the game. I've only played it for the very first time with them. I'm not really enjoying it that much. Although his friends are nice, I like them. I especially like one of them a little bit more, but whatever. So, yes. So, okay, he changes into pajamas, which is weird. And I say in front of all of his friends, why are you in your pajamas if you agreed to drive me home? I already said that I don't want to stay the night. And even if I do, I'd be on the couch. But why would you put on your pajamas right now? That makes no sense. How are you going to drive me home if you're in your pajamas? And this really weird thing happened because I thought, okay, I'm officially the bitch. All of his friends are going to hate me now. And instead, they all turned on him. Like, they literally turned to him. They all stopped talking, stopped doing what they were doing. They glared at him. And one of them said, yeah, if you promise to do that, then why are you changed into your pajamas? What are you doing? It was really weird. And this was a giant red flag for me to say, I'm going home. I don't have very much money right now. Honestly, I really don't. And I had already calculated if I got a ride back home, I would be so deep in the crap. So deep. And that's why I should have said no before I even went. But I did go and I was there. And the second game goes on for a long time. Eventually, they beat me out. So now I'm like, cool, I'm just going to take a nap on the couch until you guys are done. Then we can go back to my house and you can drop me off back home. So he puts his cards out on the table. He goes, I'm out, which is weird. And he decides, I'm out, and he's just leaving. So he leaves the game, the table, and he comes over to the couch and he goes, are you ready to go to bed? And I'm like, it doesn't matter where you decide to sleep. I'm just napping here until you're ready to take me home. Like I said that I'd probably want to do. I've made up my mind. I want to go home. So I'm going to nap here because it's like 4 o'clock in the morning and I don't want to be here anymore. And I need to go to sleep. And this isn't fair to my dog. She's 13 years old. She wants to go to sleep. So he begged me to have the conversation in the bedroom, which I should not have agreed to. And so we go to talk in the bedroom, and he snapped. He totally changed. He was really creepy. He was really loud. He changed the way that he stood. He changed the way that he stood. It was really scary because it's a very small room. So I go into the room last, which is good, I think, because I'm near the door. But then I'm thinking about it as he's going off on me, meaning yelling and ranting, and his pupils are dilating. And I'm like, oh my God, he's actually crazy. Look, his pupils are dilating. Great. How am I going to get out of this room without turning my back on this person? Because the door is kind of recessed because the closet's on the opposite side. So if you were to start to back out and grab the door, right, you could fling it open, but you'd have to step forward and adjust for the space of the door coming into your back. So you'd actually have to get closer to him first. And I'm like, that's not going to work. I could raise my voice. We could start actually fighting. If we do, my dog's going to get in the way. And this is not good. This is really not good. What can I do to be okay? So eventually I tune back into what he's saying. And he's like, if you do this, if you sleep on the couch, you'll be betraying me. If you leave, they'll think that I tried to hurt you. What's wrong with you? Something's wrong with you. How can you not want to sleep with me? And I'm like, I have already said more than 100 times, because I kind of lost my temper, I only like you as a friend. I don't want to sleep with you. I don't want to sleep next to you. I don't want to share the bedroom with you. I want to go home. I want you to take me home. He said no. We argued a lot. He continued to say no. And eventually he looked really hurt and his eyes turned red, and it looked like, yeah, it looked like he was somewhere between crying and being very angry, like sad crying or being very angry or hurt. His eyes were bright red and he was breathing differently, and he sits down on the futon. So the futon's like this, the bed is like that, the door is just behind me, but it's not right up against my back. Like I said, it's sort of recessed. And my dog is right here. So I'm like, if I make any sudden movements, I already know where this is going. I really don't know what to do. So I'm like, okay, I'm trying to like talk to him like a crazy person without actually being condescending. And I just go, okay, listen, I'm sorry if at some point it was misleading. And he goes, yeah. And I'm like, but I have already said that I'm not interested in you in anything other than a friend. I said that I only liked you as a friend. I really don't know how I could have said that better. He's like, this is all your fault. If you were just a normal woman, any woman would want to sleep with me in the same bed with me, in the same bedroom with me. I mean, what's wrong with you sleeping on the futon? So the futon is right here, and there's literally about a foot between the futon and the bed. I'm like, I don't want to sleep in, it's too close proximity. We're not dating. We're not married, and I'm not comfortable enough to spend this much space with you, this much time with you. I mean, it's like 4:30 in the morning. So we go back and forth a lot, and he goes, if you leave this room, you're betraying me. You can't leave this room. And I'm having this argument with him. He's like, keep your voice down. I don't want them to hear. I don't want them to hear. I'm like, what does it matter if they hear? If you're not doing anything wrong, it shouldn't matter if they hear you. You're one friend you've known for 15 years, one friend you've known for 5, the other guy you've known I don't know how long. Why do you need to keep any of this private? And he goes, so what is it exactly you want to do? I'm like, okay, look, so you know what? I'm just going to make a deal with one of your other friends, the one who supposedly sleeps on the couch, but from what I can see does not. And I already know I have something that he wants. I'm just going to give him something in exchange, and he can sleep in this room with you the same way that you say is not uncomfortable. And apparently, according to you, because I said it's really intimate to sleep closely with someone. And he goes, so you wouldn't want to like sleep with me, like to have sex with me either? I'm like, no, I've already said that. I explained this before you came. Basically, I was selling something online, and one person who was interested in it suddenly waffled. They turned it down, and then this guy bought it, and he started texting me constantly for 2 weeks. And so this is at the end of those 2 weeks. So he goes, if you leave, then I have to take you home. I'm like, that's what I've been asking about. He's like, and we can stay in the car together and maybe we can go somewhere else. And I'm like, okay, don't want you doing that. You know what? I'm just going to spend the money. I'm just going to get a ride home. He goes, you can't do that. You can't leave. And then he starts, or no, maybe this was before that, he had started crying, is it something wrong with your culture? And I'm like, well, no, it has nothing to do with my culture, because if I was listening to my culture as an Italian person, I would never have been in this house playing this game with you guys at 4 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, 12 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night. I wouldn't even have been in the same house with 4 other guys without someone that I'm related to coming by at some point. That's what the Italian person would do. He's like, so Italians are the problem. I'm like, whoa, sorry, there's a lot more Italians than there are of you, and there's one right here in the room, and that's not okay. He goes, so what's your other problem? Are you broken? Did somebody hurt you? And like, you know what? I've already said that I didn't think you were a bad guy, or else I would never have suggested that I sleep on the couch. But now you kind of are being that guy. He goes, how is that? I'm like, you're not letting me go home. He's like, okay, listen, I don't want you to go. I'm like, yes, I see that. And he goes, listen, if you go, I will never forgive you. And I'm like, okay, how about what you're doing to me right now, not letting me leave? So he goes, you don't want to be my enemy. So that was kind of the end of the conversation. He goes, so are you going to sleep? And he got really, really close to me. And I'm like, I'm not sleeping in the same bed with you. He's like, I didn't say that you had to do that. I'm like, actually, you did. But I keep saying I'm not going to do that. He's like, look, just leave in the morning, and then I'll take you home, okay? So I stayed in the room. Every time I started to move, he got this really scary look on his face. He faced me the entire night. Well, it wasn't an entire night. It was about 3 hours until 7. I pretended to sleep. At one point, I did actually fall asleep, and my dog woke me up because she was protecting me. And he was fully awake, just staring at me. And he very, very slowly closed his eyes. And so I was watching the rest of the time. And as soon as I heard movement in the other rooms, I moved. He went, where are you going? I'm like, it's early. You said that you could take me home. That was the agreement that we made. I thought that we made. And if you don't, then there's something wrong with you. So he, like, begrudgingly, it was really, I can't describe the way he was staring at me, but it was really, really scary. And he's like, you promise you're not trying to leave? I'm like, I just need to take the dog for a walk. I already told you I was going to do that. I picked up my dog, I took her for a walk, and I thought, how the hell am I going to get out of this? And what I just found out is, apparently all of my friends have helped me. So there's a lot more to it, but that's the least of it, and I hope that this helps. I hope that somebody else out there who is trying really hard not to be a bad person hears this and they don't fall into the same thing.